The torches flickered in the grand marble halls of Rome as whispers carried through the night. Behind locked doors, the most powerful man in the empire prepared for yet another evening of madness. His name was Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, but history remembers him by a single name that drips with fear and disgust: Caligula. To the outside world, he was emperor, son of a celebrated general, heir to Rome's greatness. But in the shadows of his palaces, he became something else entirely. A man ruled by obsession, cruelty, and a hunger that could never be filled. What happened in those forbidden nights of Caligula's reign was so horrifying that even Roman historians, accustomed to violence, trembled as they wrote about it. His parties were not feasts but rituals of humiliation. His chambers were not private but stages for corruption. The line between pleasure and torture blurred until nothing was sacred. Not family, not marriage, not the laws of gods or men. But why? What drove a ruler of such immense power to embrace darkness with such abandon? Was he insane, cursed, or simply a reflection of the empire itself, a civilization rotting under the weight of its own decadence? Tonight we open the doors Rome tried to seal shut. We step into Caligula's forbidden nights to uncover the secrets that history wanted forgotten. This is not just the story of one emperor. It is a warning of what happens when power is unchecked, when cruelty becomes entertainment, and when humanity forgets its own soul. Caligula's story begins with promise, not horror. Born in 12 AD, he was the beloved son of Germanicus, a general adored by the Roman people. As a child, he lived among soldiers, earning the nickname Caligula, meaning little boots for the tiny soldier's uniform he wore. To the legions, he was a symbol of hope, but Rome was no safe cradle. Political intrigue killed his father when Caligula was just 6. His mother and brothers were accused of treason and executed. Caligula alone survived, placed under the watchful eye of his great-uncle Tiberius, the reigning emperor. Tiberius was a shadow of terror himself, retreating to his island villa, where rumors told of cruelty and perversion beyond imagination. In this environment, the young Caligula grew up silent, observant, learning the language of survival. When Tiberius died in 37 AD, the people rejoiced as Caligula became emperor. At first, he was everything Rome wanted: generous, kind, even merciful. He freed prisoners, reduced taxes, and staged grand spectacles. His face appeared on coins. His name was celebrated in the streets. For a brief moment, it seemed Rome had found its golden ruler, but the golden image cracked quickly. Historians suggest a mysterious illness struck him only months into his reign. Whether it was physical disease, epilepsy, or madness, when he recovered, he was not the same man. The kindness vanished. In its place grew paranoia, cruelty, and a hunger for pleasures that spiraled beyond control. Caligula declared himself a living god. He demanded worship, not respect. Temples once reserved for Jupiter now bore his image. The empire that had once feared only external enemies now trembled under its own ruler's hand. And within the palace walls, his nights became the stage for acts so twisted that even Rome's historians struggled to describe them. The heart of Caligula's darkness lay in what he did behind closed doors. His palace became a labyrinth of forbidden pleasures where nothing was too sacred to touch. He is said to have taken the wives of senators at his feasts, parading them naked before the empire's elite, then returning them humiliated. His cruelty extended to his own sisters, whom he allegedly forced into his twisted games. Breaking bonds that Romans considered inviolable, his nights were spectacles of excess, where food and wine flowed endlessly, but the entertainment was not music or poetry, it was degradation. He would laugh as noblemen were stripped of dignity, as marriages were shattered at his whim. For Caligula, the suffering of others was not an accident of power, it was his deepest form of pleasure. But his cruelty did not stop at the nobility. Ordinary citizens felt his wrath too. He forced families to watch as their loved ones were executed, then invited them to dine at the same table where blood had barely dried. The boundary between theater and torture collapsed, and the emperor reveled in the chaos. Perhaps most chilling was his hunger for divine recognition. He declared himself equal to Jupiter, even building a bridge to the great temple so he could walk among the gods. He dressed as gods in public, even as Venus, mocking gender and divinity alike, demanding Rome worship his every incarnation. To defy him was death. To please him was to surrender your dignity, and yet the empire endured it. Senators who once claimed to be the guardians of Rome bowed in silence. Soldiers, loyal to the emperor's face, whispered curses in secret. No one dared to stop him, not until his paranoia grew so great that he began lashing out at everyone, including those closest to him. Imagine being a Roman citizen in those years. The empire you loved had turned into a nightmare. At night you might hear screams from the palace. In the marketplace, whispers spread of unspeakable rituals, of senators disgraced, of families destroyed. Fear clung to every word, for speaking too loudly could mean death. For the noble class, dignity became a fragile illusion. A senator's wife could be summoned by the emperor at any moment, forced to play a role in his humiliations. For families, loyalty to Rome was poisoned by dread, for their lives no longer belonged to the law, but to the whim of one man. Even for Rome's legions, the soldiers who once cheered the boy in his little boots, there was only disillusionment. Their emperor was not the son of Germanicus anymore. He was a monster wearing a crown. The emotional toll was immense. Rome prided itself on honor, discipline, and respect for tradition. Caligula shredded those values with every night of madness. He turned family into prey, faith into mockery, power into cruelty. Rome was no longer Rome. It was a theater of shadows, a stage for one man's nightmares. In 41 AD, after only 4 years as emperor, Caligula's reign ended in blood. His own guards, pushed beyond loyalty, struck him down in a corridor of his palace. Rome rejoiced, but the scars of his rule lingered. His name became a warning, whispered across generations. So what do we learn from Caligula's forbidden nights? That unchecked power corrupts, not slowly, but violently. That a society that tolerates cruelty in the name of loyalty soon finds itself enslaved. And that humanity, no matter how advanced, always risks falling into the same shadows if it forgets compassion. Caligula's story is not just history. It is a mirror. Every age, every empire, every leader faces the temptation of absolute power. What we choose in those moments, whether to bow in silence or stand for dignity, decides whether we walk in light or drown in darkness. Thank you for watching. If this story gripped you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more journeys into history's darkest secrets. Your voice helps us bring forgotten truths back to light. Until next time, remember the past is never dead. It waits in the shadows.